into it, and I'm going to pause a movie that's on in the background with my mate. In fact, I've just paused on his key scene. So this is a bit of a name drop, but if I take a quick screenshot, right, and then I'll show it to you. I've got it on the telly, so I can't really pan around to show you. But yeah, I've got Cliffhanger on in the background.
Oh, good movie.
Yeah. And that's my. Hang on, where we get that's my mate Craig Faircraft.
Really? Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah, that was his first feature film. No, second feature film role, because he was in Queen and Country with Denzel Washington.
Yeah, I like Cliffhanger. It's good. Good performance by Sean Bean's in it, and what's his name? The guy who plays Yondu. I can't think his name now.
What in which film?
Yeah, Cliffhanger.
Sean Bean's not in Cliffhanger.
I thought was it him then.
I mean, there are people with long hair that get killed in Cliffhanger, but for a change,
Sean Bean.
Not Sean Bean. No. Sean Bean's not in Cliffhanger.
They'll look the same.
I don't know if you saw my stream last night, but I had a proper coordinated spam attack bots.
You told me about when I was playing with the monkey
there were
this morning.
People coming in who were trying to get me to mod them because there were so many of them, and then there were other people coming in who were clearly all part of the same thing.
Wow.
Like, mod me up, and I was like, yeah, I don't know you, and it was proper weird, and it weren't just the usual sex bots. I think Sammy Pete might have been responsible, but I'm not sure.
Michael Rooker, that's what it was. Yeah, he's the one. Yeah.
Sammy, what's going on? If you had a haircut?
Yeah. Got some.
I'm
just sort of like. I'm thinking you look like this is like the sort of Leonardo DiCaprio version of you that we've never seen before. You look sort of like way younger and better looking than I remember. What's going on?
He's wearing glasses.
What moisturizer are you using? Have you got a ring on? Have you got a ring?
I'm actually getting younger. It's something I tried out. They suggested, like, hey, did you think about getting younger? You might get more viewers if you get younger, and it's been working out.
Well, I thought it was a whole new guest lens because for some reason, whenever a person puts on glasses, it changes their entire identity, and he changes his hair.
Oh my God. I got them for the first time yesterday, and people were going insane. It was like, guys, I need him to see.
Is his last name Kent?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, you look good.
Thank you.
Gone from like kind of sort of super nerd to super cool overnight. I don't know what's happening.
Have you watched Sammy's second video?
Glasses.
I watched Sammy's second video with my kid, and we loved it.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I mean, it was better than the movie.
my idea was, if they're not going to be serious about this, neither am I. So,
Sammy's got a good presentation, man. He's getting it down.
Yeah.
I based it off of. Do you remember those Saturday Night Live bits where Chris Farley would interview people and do like a really bad job, like when he interviewed like Paul McCartney, and he's like, "You remember when everyone thought you were dead, but you weren't dead?" Like that was cool, and like I was going like, this is the perfect way to review The Crow 2024. Like I've cracked the crowd.
Chris Farley can't do that sketch now, though.
No, he can't.
But people can do it about him. So,
Lance, whenever you can say what, I do have some stills I made up for you guys. I mean,
we'll put those up in a sec. We've got 3 episodes to digest here, which is quite a lot. Sammy, I don't know how long you can stay on for. I'm not planning on this being like 3 hours or anything, more kind of probably around 90 minutes.
I only watched the first episode. I'll probably only be able to make it through the first episode.
All right. Well, we can focus on that to start off with, and then when we're done with that, Chris and I can dive into the rest. So if you've read my blurb below, you'll know where I stand on season 1 of Lord of the Rings, or the Rings of Power. I wanted it to be good. I was actually very excited when I heard it was getting made, because I felt there was definitely room for a Lord of the Rings television series. There was so much that could be done with it. The original concept was to do a show that was very close in aesthetic to Jackson's look. So they were going to go for similar emblems and armor and all of that kind of thing. It was going to very, very much replicate that world. It wasn't going to feel like it sat out of that and was done with a completely different vision. So you could sit it alongside. It's not too far removed aesthetically, but that's more by coincidence than design, because all of that, let's have this sit comfortably with Jackson, that all went out the window quite early on in season 1. For anyone who doesn't know this, there were 30 different pitches, 30 different writing teams pitched ideas for a TV series set in the Lord of the Rings universe. They were given a certain criteria as to when it could be. Not just this period of time. There were other periods of time they could have gone for. I wish I had been able to be one of those people pitching, because I had a great idea for a Lord of the Rings TV show, which was all about the guys that came on the elephants and all of those kind of those mystic races, those kind of far east races, the Easterlings and the Southrons.
Yes.
I was gonna do a story about how they all came to serve Sauron. That was my idea for a show.
That would have been much better than what we got.
I mean, seeing how all of those races got corrupted, and then ultimately ending that show with them going into the fight at Pelennor Fields and being defeated, and then having some of the characters there either surrendering or being captured, and you kind of having dialogue between them and Rohirrim and things. Why did you fight for him? And it would have been because he would have done the same thing he's doing now, poisoning races against each other and all that kind.
I mean, that would have been great, Lance. And you could have even done things. Something that I've always wanted to see adapted in. They don't talk about it much. I think it's only a couple of lines, but you could have gotten a very interesting story over the creation of like the first orcs or goblins, where the elves are corrupted.
Yeah.
That would have been something that would have been inherently interesting to see. It would have been dark. It would have given it would have given them more. I think you can get more out of what they're doing here. And honestly, I think what I saw a couple minutes ago was worse somehow than what I saw last year. I didn't think it could. I'm unhappy, and I'm a Tolkien guy. I haven't read everything he's ever done, but I've read The Lord of the Rings multiple times. I've read The Hobbit multiple times.
Yeah, I've read both of those multiple times.
Now, to both you guys, we all are on YouTube. We watch other channels, and I watch Nerdrotic and Drinker, obviously. Now, a lot of this stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, is that also lands, a lot of stuff is in terms of licensing, correct? Because the thing is, New Line Cinema and the Peter Jackson films are owned by a different company, because now Amazon didn't buy the rights to Lord of the Rings. That's why they can't put the Jackson films on Prime. So like right now, they only have the likenesses and rights to certain characters and parts of Tolkien's work. That's what I heard. It's a big licensing issue. Why? That's what I heard.
I got the deets on that earlier. Let me just check on that. Yeah, my before we jump on episode 1, if you remember that scene in I think it's in the Two Towers, and it's the scene where Faramir's guys ambush a load of the Mumakils and stuff that are marching to join the armies of Sauron. Yeah. And of course they meet up with the hobbits, Frodo and Sam. And one of the people he kills is that young lad who falls off one of the elephants. And he's got that lovely little monologue. It's quite a short monologue, but brilliantly acted by the actor, David Wenham, where he says, "I wonder who he is. I wonder who he was. I wonder how he came to fight here. I wonder if his family are going to miss him," all that kind of stuff. And my idea for the show was to start with that scene, even if they had to refilm it for rights reasons, and and make that character that got killed in that moment one of the key characters in the show, and then show how he came to be there, and show how all his people came to be at that moment. And that might be your end of season 1 to bring that moment full cycle. Anyway, enough about my Lord of the Rings show that didn't happen. But hey, I'd love to give it a crack. If Amazon want me to do a spin-off show set in a different time, I'll make it for like 10% of that budget that you've had to use. The general reviews have been quite mixed. There have been a couple of people who've really trumpeted its. I mean, the big thing is it's better than season 1. Well, that's a very low bar. So
from what I saw, I did not think so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the reviews in the UK newspapers and stuff. So we might be looking at slightly different stuff. There has been a couple of good ones in the UK. There's been some very bad ones, and there's been quite a few that say it's better, but there's still loads wrong with it. Just a few sort of bits of information for people. It was predominantly shot in the UK. I know 3 people that are in it who have speaking parts. The location work was done in the Canary Islands. So whenever you're seeing the deserts and stuff like that, that's all shot in the Canary Islands. There are 8 episodes in total. We've had 3 drops so far. All of them have been directed by Charlotte Brandstrom, who's a Swedish director. Episodes 2 and 3 have timelines that are directed by Louise Hooper, so they've got joint directing credits on that. We've got Jennifer Hutchinson as the writer on episode 1, Jason Cahill as the writer on episode 2, and Helen Shang as the writer on episode 3. Every episode has got different writer names on it, apart from the last 2 where JD Payne and Patrick McKay share writing credits. So I'm guessing these guys are all in a writer's room. I mean, I'm not privy to that, but I'm guessing that they're all in a writer's room. A general story is agreed. Someone's allocated an episode to go and write the dialogue for that episode. You'd like to think that's how it works. It doesn't feel like that's how it works, I have to say. The first episode, I'll give a brief breakdown. So I'm going to do some spoilers here for anyone who hasn't seen it. So put me on mute, and then I'll do a thumbs up. I've finished it. I mean, I'm sure the 16 people watching probably aren't that too worried about it. But the dawn of the Second Age, Sauron is betrayed and seemingly killed by Adar and his orcs. Adar's been recast, incidentally, now played by the brilliant Sam Hazeldine. He's a fantastic actor. However, unbeknownst to Adar, Sauron's spirit persists. We know this because his spirit falls down the side of a mountain, gets caught in a wheel of a cart, and then is able to kill a woman who's riding that cart. More on that later. Regaining physical form centuries later as Halbrand. I didn't get any sense it was centuries later. I completely missed that in episode 1. I mean, I have to admit, I kept sort of being distracted because it wasn't gripping me. Was there a credit that came up that said 30 years, 200 years later, or whatever?
It showed his blood, his blood oozing through the stone. And
that was the passage of time, was it?
Yeah, and then of course his blood eats a rat and then a centipede.
And I'm only a dumb 50-year-old male, so I'm I don't get these things.
Stone's age.
All right, so then Halbrand falls in with a group of fleeing Southlanders. Oh, yeah, that's the old geezer who says, "Come with us, mate. You don't want to go over there. It's evil." Later become shipwrecked on their voyage across the sea. We'll come back to that, where he first encounters Galadriel.
In season 1.
Then later, after the creation of the 3 elven rings, they get identified. They sort of arrive by post. There's a gift for you. Galadriel identifies Halbrand as Sauron, so she admits her big effing mistake. Elrond, fearing Sauron's influence, escapes with the rings by diving off a cliff, almost to his death.
Fugitive.
After Galad voices his willingness to use them, Elrond travels to the Grey Havens, where he convinces Círdan, Lord of the Havens, to cast the rings into the sea.
Wait, can I ask a question real quick, Lance?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this. I thought when you go to the Grey Havens, you stay at the.
Yeah,
Grey
I thought you
Havens.
couldn't come back. I know. I'm mystified. I thought it was a one-way
questions.
I thought it was a one-way ticket as well. I have to completely,
Okay.
because it's like a sort of, it's not just a continent over the horizon.
Yeah.
It's be a spiritual transition as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember when I watched Return of the King before I read the books.
Yeah.
And I at the end of it, I kind of looked at my friend and I was like, so it was like they went through all that to just like sink on a boat, and he's like, no, they're going to the
Sammy, you forgot the appendix in the back pages. Right at the bottom, it says Sea King Ferries does a return trip to the Grey Havens for $29.99. So if you're an elf or an evil man in disguise, you can get that. Let me finish this quickly.
Sorry.
No. That's a very good point. You were right to interrupt me. So Sir Dan, however, is entranced by the ring's design, forgetting the words evil and you must get rid of them, cast them into the fire or the sea, and returns them to Gil-galad. The rings are taken by Galadriel, Sir Dan, and Gil-galad for safekeeping. Not that safe, as it turns out. And the purifying power of the rings is proven immediately effective because it restores that tree that was like wilting. En route to Rune, Nori and the stranger are soon joined by Poppy. Oh, that was like the big groan moment. We'll come back to it.
Like Frodo.
It was just like, I thought we got rid of her because she's so annoying, and then suddenly she's back in the show, and I was like, no.
Right. We'll get Sam soon.
But she helps them navigate the desert. Meanwhile, the stranger is plagued by strange things. The
stranger,
Gandalf,
yeah.
Not Gandalf, stranger. And the trio are unknowingly stalked by masked figures. Those guys I thought were cool, actually. Come back.
The armor was, yeah.
I kind of liked them. There wasn't enough about them, but I kind of liked. That was one of the things I did like. In Mordor, Halbrand allows himself to be captured by Adar's forces. That's when he goes through a whole big process of being tortured. But what they don't know is that Sauron's really into S&M, so he's all down with that.
Seemed to be enjoying it. Huh?
He certainly did seem to be enjoying it. He negotiates the release of the Southlanders, manipulating Adar with rumors of Sauron's return, even though he is Sauron, and an alliance with the elves. Later, Halbrand escapes Adar's camp, traveling to Eregion to seek audience with Celebrimbor. So that's a brief breakdown of episode 1. All right, let's talk about what we liked about it. Okay, that might be a short conversation for some of us, but let's give it its fair due. And let's say off the bat, any show that's trying to recover from a terrible first season, but has had the biggest amount of money put into it in television or cinema history ever, is off to a bad start, because even the most skillful writers and directors are going to have a hard time taking the Lego set that is season 1, and it's a Duplo Lego set, and somehow they've got to build a Lego Death Star out of it. That's kind of what you've got. So keeping that in mind, there were some things I did like about this show across the 3 episodes. Overall, I thought the visual effects they maintained a pretty decent and cohesive standard, whereas in season 1 we had some that looked really great and some that were like, is this a 90s intro for a game, TV game or whatever? So overall, I thought they were quite good. I thought the production design, the costumes, all of that stuff, again, you can see lots of labor, lots of work by skilled and experienced people doing characters' hair, all of that stuff. So all of the people that on the big jobs, writers, directors, producers, but they're working their arse off in their respective departments, the art department, the makeup department. All of those people, I think, have done a first-class job on the show, because the costumes look good, the swords look good, the ornaments and art, all that art stuff looks good. The warg, you know what? I didn't even spot the warg. I probably was like munching into my burger when that shot was on.
That's because Sauron gave him the bone, and then he as he's chewing on the bone, he whispered black magic and hypnotized him.
Now, effects are one thing, Cinematography is another. I don't want people watching this thinking I didn't have an issue with the show being too dark. We'll come back to that. But things I liked, I did quite like the dwarf scene with the camera going through the mountain and you were following the light sources and you got the whole, that big opening shot. I think it was at the beginning of episode 2 or was it in episode 1? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, you don't see dwarves in episode 2.
It's in episode 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Sammy won't have seen that. There's quite, do you remember the camera shot in Fellowship of the Ring, Sammy, where the camera is watching the building of the destruction of all the trees and everything around all.
Oh yeah.
And the camera follows it down and goes into the earth workings, and you see all the orcs being created, and they're making all the weapons and that sort of. There's a kind of similar sequence to that at the beginning of episode 2, where it goes into the mountain, and you kind of go into the dwarf city, and you're following. They've got these big plates that are projecting light to bring light into the depths of the cave, so they can grow food and things, sunlight basically.
Yeah.
And I quite liked that. I quite liked that setup, and I thought that was all right. And there were some individual performances that were very good, and there are some characters who I quite like. So those are the things I thought were okay. Sammy, what are your positives?
Well, like I said, I do think it looks better. As far as everybody, I sometimes I even think they were being disingenuous, saying that a lot of season 1 looked cheap. I didn't see that as far as the production value went.
No, there were some really good shots in season 1.
I agree with that. I especially like the stuff with the dwarves, and that felt the most Tolkien to me.
Yeah.
I think the production value looks better. It's just that's pretty much the only positives that I have to say about it, because honestly, when I turned it on again and I saw it was like every single time, like, I saw Galadriel and I'm like, oh Christ, her again. And then you see Gil-galad, you see Nori and the Stranger, and then and then Poppy, and you're like, Poppy. It was like I was like, I'm not having fun with these characters, and it's not even that they're poorly acted, so to speak. It's just I just think the dialogue and the tone of the show, I really don't find it that enjoyable. So yeah, that I mean, it all looks cool. Even the Stranger, his outfit looks cool.
Yeah.
It has the right flavor. It's I guess great ingredients, terrible chef would be.
That's a good analogy, actually, mate. Let me read out this super chat real quick, because Common People gave me a great shout out on Twitter. He actually took my image of me as an elf and did a post. I started watching Rings of Power at 4:00 today. I'm currently 15 minutes into episode 2. It hurts my head thinking machine or brain, I think. Do continue, sir.
Oh no, that was my point. I mean, this was and this is kind of a little dark, but it's supposed to be. It's not as dark as that one episode of Game of Thrones where you couldn't see anything. They're still hitting all these points visually, and I enjoy that. But
that was a good scene. They were just like this.
Yeah, but I can't enjoy it the way that I could, just because I just find a lot of these characters to be really annoying. And I think actually what is it, Halbrand, or how do you say it, Halbrand, or
Halbrand.
I think he's doing a phenomenal job. I just wish I cared more.
Yeah, the actor who plays him is there are some good actors in this. So I mean, I really like. It might be unpopular. I don't know what people's views are on the cast, but the dwarf characters for me are actually the ones that are working the most.
I agree.
What you said about season 1 with that feeling like the most Tolkien, it does, because you get a sense of the society, you get a sense of them living. But whenever you arrive in any of the other cities or towns in Middle Earth in this show, I don't have a sense of place. I don't have a sense of culture. I don't have a sense of why these people that live over here different from these people who live over here. It's all just a bit. So that, that's not working. But anyway, let's. Sorry, Blue. You haven't said the things that you thought were good about the show yet. So let's
Like
give you
the
your
opening right there, I mean, just it was pretty dark. As like Sammy would talk about, maybe possibly a darker version of like how the orcs were made. Just seeing him, like how Halbrand / Sauron, the way he just basically dies and just like comes back as like this like ooze monster, like in a different setting, that would be cool. But it's Lord of the Rings. Doesn't feel like it mixes with the lore of Lord of the Rings.
It felt very Hellraiser, didn't it?
It felt just something like that doesn't match that. But yeah, like you said, Lance. I mean, considering and not to go on tangent, but like people mention the CGI of season 1, even season 2. Lance, we just had our ups and downs with House of Dragon. I'm sorry, this show costs like 5 times the amount of House of Dragon. And
Yeah.
look at the CGI in House of Dragon. Look at the CGI in this show. It's embarrassing if you want to compare the two, considering the budget. Like reportedly, Amazon spent $1 billion on this on 2 seasons, but
Yeah.
yes, there are like shots like this. There are some good shots, no doubt. The acting it's up and down. Like Sammy said, it's just the characters. I mean, God, people that are more purist than I am, I wouldn't even know where to begin ripping apart how much they're kind of butchering the lore. I mean, the stuff with Halbrand, Celebrimbor, Elrond, Galadriel. It's just yes, it looks nice. I'll give them that.
Or I mean, we'll come on to what we'll do is we'll take this apart by topics like we do on Spartacus, okay? But before we do that, I've just realised who Sammy's new appearance actually reminds me of. If you haven't seen this film, guys, you absolutely should watch it. It's a low-budget World War II flick, and this is one of the early appearances of Gary Sinise with glasses. And if you look, you can see a very strong resemblance to Sammy in this image. There you go, man. You got your Gary Sinise lookalike.
Hey, Gary Sinise is the nicest one I've gotten. I've gotten under or like pencil pusher FBI agent, dorky archaeologist, Harry Potter twink. What else? Common people was there. Bushi were there. What were some of the classics that I was getting last night?
That's by the way, that's the film The Midnight Clear, which was directed by a friend of mine, Keith Gordon, and that's Ethan Hawke on the right. It's great little movie.
I like Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, check it out if you haven't seen it. Really good film.
No, I haven't.
Matt Dillon's in it.
You have a plethora of knowledge on World War II. I'm gonna have to pick your brain one day because I love World War II movies.
You got Air Gross in there. It's a great little set just before Battle of the Bulge, about a German unit right on the front, and there's a next to the American unit. They're trying to surrender, and it all goes a bit wrong. But yeah, it's a great little film. So yeah, sorry, go back one still. So that's Sam Hazeldine. So Sam Hazeldine is the son of the late James Hazeldine, and for any late night Brits watching this, they may remember that James Hazeldine played Bayleaf in London's Burning, which is our kind of show about firefighters that ran for years. It was a big show in the 80s and 90s at 9 o'clock Saturday night, ITV, or Sunday night, I think it was. And I really liked James Hazeldine as an actor, and I invited him to come and see my first play. And he turned up, and he was in the queue. And I was, oh my God. And then when the play finished, there was all these people there wanting to talk to me, and I saw him waiting at the bar to talk to me. And by the time I freed myself up from everybody, he'd gone. And I was so upset. And I wrote to Sam not that long ago, about 2 years ago, to say, listen, I want to tell you this story about your dad, because he sadly passed away quite suddenly of a heart attack many moons ago. And I wrote him a big, long message. And he replied back and thanked me for the story. And I'm sitting in a restaurant with my friend having a Sunday roast, and there's these 2 guys sitting like right next to me. One of them who's got his back to me. He's on the table. He's back to me. He's there. And I kept sort of seeing half his face, and I thought, that looks like Sam Hazeldine. I get him up on IMDb. I showed my friend and I said, you got a better angle on him. Is that him? And she went, nah, it's not him. And then I saw him get up and it clearly was him. And I went, Sam, right? And so we got to meet and he had just finished filming this. So I took the opportunity to ask him, what was it like? You know, how did you get on? And he said it was one of the best jobs he ever did. He said he got treated really well, had great fun doing the role. And you know, it was just a really good experience. So there's a on-set story for you. So we've covered everything we liked then. Chris, did you have anything else?
No, I'm sorry.
So yeah, I mean, as I said
right there, but that's a good, I mean, said good.
I like those guys. I like those guys. I again, okay, so the biggest problem with this show is I mean, there are lots of things. The biggest problem is season 1 has crippled this, and we're still carrying on some of the narratives from season 1 that really weren't that interesting. And I have to admit, every time the Not Gandalf Hobbit story came on, and they're just lost and talking about nothing important, I just got really disinterested. And now hobbits eat bugs, even though we know that they're actually like really good cooks that like to grow things.
These are hobbits, though, because I guess because licensing, they can't say the word hobbit.
Whatever, they're hobbits, okay?
They can't say it. I know,
So,
which also messed up the lore because according to Tolkien's own lore, hobbits didn't exist in this time frame in the Lord of the Rings universe. So that's why these are Harfoots, not hobbits.
The biggest problem with the show, and it has got some things to merit it. I'm not gonna. This is not the same case as the Acolyte, where
that CGI right there.
You've got all these issues. Is that one of the dark shots that I was talking about? This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's the warg that was looking at.
You can't see what the fuck is happening. And I at one point I thought it was because the light was coming into my room, so I froze the show. I closed all the blinds, turned all the lights off, put it on, and that's what I could still see. And I'm like, guys, you know, what is it with this? You got digital cameras, but
I'm not turning the brightness of my monitor down, guys. This is right from the show.
Yeah. So that I mean that was annoying. I found that very annoying when they cut to shots and I just couldn't see what the fuck was going on. Even though me and Sammy wear glasses, it still was a big issue.
All the cool kids do, Chris. You should try it.
Oh, actually, I LASIK.
But I really?
I love it.
Oh, sorry. There was one other thing I liked about the show: the music. I thought the music was good. I thought the music.
Yeah. Okay. For sure.
Yeah. And there were some moments where the music narrative actually was stronger than the moment it was underpinning.
And again, shots like that. That's
the
nice
reverse should always be true. The power should all be in the narrative, and then the music lifts that narrative and takes it even further. But the moment itself is powerful. Yeah. For example, the scene where you suddenly see the statues. You know, remember the twin statues? Miss that you know they're canoeing along the river, and I forget the name. They've got a name, haven't they? The two. It's the gateway to the Badlands, as it were. And somebody in the chat will know what they're called. And that's a very powerful moment. It's a very powerful visual, you know, and it's really beautifully underscored by the music.
So like Lance, like shots rear. So I'm guessing the back part in the mountains, that's probably all like a effect shot. But like this seems like the first half is like a real set, wouldn't it be?
Let me enlarge that. Sure. Let's have a look. Just Eraserhead, thanks for the comment. And there's loads of people in the chat that I don't recognize, so I appreciate you coming in. If you've not been here before, welcome to the channel. The music acts as a nice soundtrack, but doesn't feel like it exists in this world. I have to disagree with that because it's the same composer as Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Howard Shore is overseeing the score, and there's a new guy working kind of in tandem with him. So they are working together, and Howard Shore did the main theme, I believe. So I think the only thing that's real in that shot is probably the foreground.
Okay.
With the steps.
Gotcha.
The rest and like we talked about, the music, The set design, it's all very passable.
Yeah.
It's just they're just missing that one fundamental ingredient, and sadly, it's cohesive writing. And if you don't have that, it doesn't matter how much money you dump into it.
Now we're in the Grey Havens here.
Yeah,
Is that
this
right? This is the Grey Havens.
Yep, Linden.
Yeah. So I just sort of showing the Grey Havens, I think, is a mistake as well for this show, because they should be. It's a bit like we don't know what heaven is, you know. If you, and whether you believe in religion or don't, or whichever religion you believe, and most religions have got a version of heaven or paradise or whatever, but you won't know what it is until you get there.
I honestly forgot what's the difference between Valinor though and the Grey Havens, because they mentioned Valinor.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
Someone in the chat just said, so the Grey Havens aren't actually like paradise. It's the like way into paradise. It's just the gateway to the lands of the
Okay, so
undying.
it's like the island on the way.
Yeah, it's the pit stop. It's
for a snack sort of thing.
Exactly.
Because it says perfection only exists in Valinor. I thought Valinor was like their heaven.
If that's the case, they've already fucked their own. Sorry for my language. They've already screwed with their own world building, because if you look back to season 1, when Galadriel is going on the boat and she's going to the Grey Havens, or onto whatever, you get that moment where the bright light comes and everybody's it's all sort of becoming a bit unearthly and everything. You telling me that happens just for you to turn up on this snack stop?
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. This is very tangible. This is like Middle Earth. It's just another island or whatever. So the way that they've interpreted this to me is at odds with what they did in season 1. Because surely you don't go through the bright light experience just to stop off here to say hello to the chat before you carry on. The bright light experience is only going to happen once, isn't it?
I certainly hope so. But who knows? Maybe on the way to heaven, there's a little island that you could realistically see on any golf course. So
they're all taking elf drugs or whatever. But
oh yeah.
So, but Razorhead, appreciate the comment and the knowledge there, because I'm pretty up to speed with Tolkien, but I'm afraid I'm hampered by the fact that my memory is atrocious. I might well be misunderstanding the Grey Havens. That's perfectly possible, mate. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm right. So the Grey Haven is where you leave to go to Valinor. But I thought, hang on a minute, the Grey Havens are the Grey Havens is the port that we see at the end of Return of the King, isn't it?
No, they're going to it.
No, they get there when Gandalf gets on the boat and he says, Frodo's got to come and all that. That's the Grey Havens.
No, I thought that they were leaving for it, and then Bilbo looks like, "Do you have that? I would have liked to see that ring one last time." And then like the boat sinks, so you assumed that it was going there, but it didn't.
No. That's I'm pretty sure that is the Grey Havens, and then that
okay.
boat, there you go. That's where I was getting confused. But listen, Sammy, it's not surprising that we're confused, because the Grey Havens in this, even though obviously time, looks nothing like the Grey Havens. So I was kind of this, they've made it look all a bit ethereal and but that's the port where people go to the west. Okay, all right. So look, let's break this down by topics. All right, let's talk about the narrative first, because that's the big one, really. We'll talk about the narrative, then we'll talk about the cast, then we'll do visual effects, production design, all that. I mean, we've commented on that a little bit already, but so we'll talk about the story and the narrative. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Eraserhead.
Yeah, that's what I said. See, my memory occasionally it all comes back to me in a rush, and I suddenly remember things. for all you kids watching at home, I've got a big scar in my brain. So true story. Okay. The sometimes this feels like Lord of the Rings. Sometimes, the overall thing, but the dialogue sometimes feels like Lord of the Rings, and then sometimes it feels like people just don't know what they're doing with it. So I felt that the dialogue was quite inconsistent. There was some good dialogue, and there was some like, what's happening here? There's we don't get development of there's not. For example, the arcs that began in season 1, I don't feel like any of them were solidified enough that we're that engaged with them that we really care about these characters, because I don't know enough about not Gandalf to care about him, even though we know he's Gandalf. The hobbits are very kind of, the not hobbits are very sort of bland. So, and their narrative is very vague. They're going with Gandalf to do what? Okay, or not Gandalf. They're going somewhere with not Gandalf to do something. We don't really know what.
How did you guys feel about the ring design?
It's all right.
I just bought my goddaughter a board game called Pretty Pretty Princess, and the amount of costume, jewelry, big spark, it kind of felt very much the same to me.
Right. If that's the board game I'm thinking of, by the way, that's supposed to be a really fun board game.
I mean, it's definitely like a children's board game, but it was like, but she was having a ball. So you collect all the things, and then whoever gets the tiara ends up being the pretty pretty princess. And I mean, it was fun. It's fun to play it with her because she's a little, she's.
I've just seen not the game I was thinking of. There was when I went into a game shop and asked what would be a good game for me and my ex-wife to play, and they asked me what she was into, and I said fashion, and they said, "Oh, we got this perfect game," and it was all about who could get the best costume. It's kind of
that ring looks like it's straight out of Pretty Pretty Princess.
Don't stop at a Dollar Tree.
It looks like one of those ones that you get that comes out of a Christmas cracker sometimes.
It does. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. It was like, oh, this is
we spent.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's supposed to look all pretty and shiny and whatever, but they the ones in. I'd have to go back and check the massive opening monologue of Fellowship. But the rings at the beginning of that sort of felt like they fitted Tolkien somehow. Not sure about these ones. Yeah, they were all right. I mean, this is a production design issue, so we're jumping topics slightly. So my big problem with the story is I'm not engaged by the story, and I'm not engaged by the characters, and there feels too much jumping around with Sauron in a narrative that I don't believe, and there's too much. Now we're trying to make the orcs good. The orcs were always bred for war. They always fed on. They were always cannibals. So those are the issues I've got with story and narrative. Blue.
Yeah, 100%. Like they're first off, it's like Sauron is this big bad, and you only see him in the beginning of obviously Fellowship, but this dominating force. Now it's like, what is he? He's just like from season 1, even season 2, we're 3 episodes in. I feel like I can kick Halbrand's ass. The guy's like such a wimp. And yeah, Galadriel, what is the point of her arc? I mean, remember season 1, she's this Kate Blanchett character that had some magical powers. Now she's a super Legolas fighter, and she can take out trolls in one hit. And apparently she's a total bitch, and it's all her fault. I don't know what we're doing with these characters. Elrond I get he's younger, but like Elrond's different. Like these characters, it feels like they're characters in name only. That's it.
Well, it's a complete role reversal with Galadriel and Elrond. Like Elrond is supposed to be the warrior type, he's a fierce commander, and Galadriel's supposed to be more of like a diplomatic character, exactly. I would say. And we know why they chose to reverse that, but it just doesn't make sense. and it's disappointing, and I don't like it.
People have issues with the Hobbit prequels, which I get that, but yeah, you see it in the third one, the Battle of the Five Armies, when they actually do fight, you see Elrond. Hugo Weaving's older, but still, you see when Elrond actually fights, the fucker can hold his own, man. And Galadriel, yes, Galadriel can use her power, but like you said, Sammy, she's a commander. She can tap into that power, but she's not a combat warrior. That was the biggest mistake for season one. You got her doing
no, she's supposed to be like this graceful, just what is Gimli's just like, hey, like, can I have some of your hair, like, like it's supposed to be
no Kate
a
Blanchett
treat when she graces you with her presence, and like I don't get
she's
that here.
glowing, she's regal, it's like there's something
Yeah,
about
and this actress, she's by no means ugly or anything. It was like she could have played this role just fine. Why they chose to make her Gertrude girl boss, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think she's not helped by the script.
No, not at all.
I'm sure she's a fine actress. She's not helped by the script and the narrative, and the choices for the production.
Apparently, but the character of Celebrimbor, the guy who creates the rings, apparently he's such a flippin' moron, because Sammy didn't see episode 2 and 3. He'll watch it eventually, but man, from the guy who creates all these rings, you are an idiot. Like, it's amazing how easily Sauron. I get he's manipulative, but how easily he can just get these guys' minds. And
I think it would have been more interesting if, I have to say, if we didn't know who Sauron was. On the one hand, it was really a lot of the narrative has been from his point of view, and on the one hand, I was quite glad about that, because we got a lot less of Galadriel and Galadriel's perspective, which is 70% of season 1, and she's just not very interesting. So the actor that plays Sauron does, he's quite an engaging actor, and he does get some fun lines because he's playing the bad guy, and we're seeing him manipulate and start to fuel everybody off against each other. Charlie Vickers, that good actor. That doesn't mean that I really buy into it. I think it would have been more interesting if Sauron died at the beginning, like he does. He goes into his kind of spirit form, and ultimately he becomes someone else, and we don't know who that person is. And we could have several antagonist advisor type characters set up in the show, all of whom might be Sauron, but we don't really know which one is Sauron, and that could be the thing
that's much better.
Yeah.
In Game of Thrones language, it was like, Sauron is gone, but all of a sudden we're greeted by like 4 little fingers, and and guessing who the bad guy is. That should have been the point of the show. That was the point of when that was the point of the text. I would assume it was. But I with the construction of the rings and everything, I can't remember if they. I think the elves put it on, and they immediately didn't trust Sauron, whatever name he took at that form, but he's supposed to be like this alluring, beautiful creature who you would have no reason to doubt. And I mean, they established that he's just the bad guy right away. Where's the fun in that?
Well, I mean, also like to trick our ringsmith, he's like, first of all, he pretends to be a sort of homeless vagrant. I mean, you haven't seen this.
Really.
It's not in episode 1. Yeah, he turns up on his doorstep, pretends to, again, we're getting into spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen episodes 2 or 3 yet, pretends to be this sort of homeless vagrant, then says he refuses to leave. Lord Celebrimbor refuses to see him. Ultimately, he sees him. I quite like the actor who plays Celebrimbor, which is a guy called Charles Edwards. He's a established character actor in the UK, and this chap. And then he sort of walks into a fire and says, "I'm not who you think I am," and then proclaims himself to be an elven god. So this guy suddenly worships him and wants to do anything he wants. But in the process of that transformation, first of all, his eyes go black. He cackles an evil laugh.
Yeah.
And claims to be good. And I'm like, if someone did that in front of me, I'd be like, nah, you're the devil though, really, aren't you? You're the devil, really. I wouldn't be. It just was all a bit pantomime. It was a bit like, I'm going to step into the fire. Now I've come out, but actually I'm a good guy. You should trust me. And now what I need you to do is make these rings, really powerful rings that we're going to give to the dwarves, who, by the way, were previously your enemy. And that's just all a bit. Yeah.
So screenshot here. It's right from the Fellowship of the Ring, the Peter Jackson film.
Let's have a look at that.
Yeah, let me look at that. That's from the movie, and like you see,
I really like this one on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're sort of very, in a way, they're kind of quite simplistic.
Yeah. Now look at that. Now this is here. This is from the show, which will be right here. That's the show. It's supposed to be the same rings.
Hang on, let me enlarge my screen here.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a like a master smith. Like what are they? The Ainur? I always forget the damn name. Like he was the like apprentice under like the god of smithing. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, this does not look that way. This doesn't look that intricate. When you look at the ring on Galadriel's finger in the Jackson movie, you're like, how could someone do this with a hammer? You know, like it's infuriating.
Internet found
here. By the way, Sammy, I just made you a mod.
Yeah,
thank you.
These are
if I ever get a weird attack like the other day, and I put the bat signal, you can come charging in with a hammer to whack the whack-a-moles.
And right here, Lance, these are the names of each ring and what their abilities are. So you have Narna, Nenya, and Vilya.
Okay.
So that screenshot.
So one of them's called Nana.
Narya, Nenya, and Vilya. Those are
here we go. Okay.
But that's what they should look like versus what we get in the show.
Yeah.
So Galadriel's was the second one. And of course, they're also made from mithril.
I'm a mithril.
Yeah, I mean,
I just realized, guys, I'm bummed. I got to bounce over to Roman's channel.
Yeah, no problem.
No worries, man. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. I might just call you Gary Sinise from now on.
I'm totally fine with that. I'll take that.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, what would you give the episode 1 out of 10?
I mean, I'll give it a 4. 5 being average. It wasn't egregious to the point where it's like we talked about. It was like there's wonderful ingredients, there's a terrible chef, but it's like you just keep missing the beats on all these little things, and eventually it adds up. I'm sorry to say that I'm disappointed with this, because it's an IP that I adore, and I expect more, especially for the budget that they have. It's kind of inexcusable.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I think I speak for all of the panel when I say we're not here to hate on this show. We're quite big. We're big fans of Jackson's trilogy, obviously, and I'm totally
Blue knows. I want to like these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally up for being completely engaged, and I'd love to be raving about this show. There are some things in it I like. There are some little things and some acting and some scenes and bits and bobs. But like you say, there's some good ingredients here, but it's not been brought together in the best way. But Sammy, thanks for coming on. Great to have you on again.
Everybody.
And I think I'm going to do this again next week. So if you want to pop on next week, feel free.
I'll definitely be more. But you doing they're probably doing the next 3 episodes. So
no, they're dropping weekly from here on out.
Okay, well, I'll definitely be caught up then. I mean, it's the insanity in me. I started it, so I have to finish it. I envy the people who can just go, no, I stopped mid-season, and was like, did you?
Something has to be really beyond dire.
Yeah.
I found it hard.
Actually, all three of us watched The Acolyte. It can't get any worse. Don't worry.
That is true.
All right, Sammy.
I will see you guys later.
Yeah. What else did you want to say about the story and the script?
What's like common people said the biggest right now. So the green one goes to Elrond. The silver one is Galadriel. The red one goes to Gandalf. But Gandalf isn't in the show because Gandalf doesn't exist right now. So who's wearing the red one right now?
Well, at the start of the Fellowship, when you've got that shot of them getting the rings, I think Gandalf inherits one of them later.
Yeah.
So I don't think he has them at the beginning because it's 3 for the Elf Lords.
Yeah, the same.
It's not an elf.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll post those from our episode. So since Sammy's gone, so
yeah. Let me say some more things about episode 1 first.
Okay. Let's get these ready. There we go.
I mean, okay. Mostly what I want to say is
about like said, with the stranger. I mean, so we don't know. Remember, we assume it's Gandalf, but with these guys, we're not sure is it really him because we don't know. That's the problem. This show because
there's a scene where, and I thought the dialogue in this scene was really terrible, where one of the hobbits is trying to think of a name for him, and they're chucking names out, and then he says something like, you can't just be given a name, you know, I have a name already or whatever. And well, of course you're given a name. Everybody's given a name by someone. So that makes sense for starters. But I was just waiting for them to see something that paraphrased the word Gandalf, and then suddenly they were going to say, Gandalf. Yes, that was my name. I think he's going to need to be told that by somebody who's more important than the not Hobbit hobbits. But the narrative with the 3 of them for me was painful. That was the 2 actresses who play the halflings are fine. Don't have an issue with them. We'll come on to actors and acting and characters in a minute. But they're just they feel like sort of cardboard cutout characters. I don't feel that they exist beyond this kind of, they're hobbits. They're kind of slightly simple and they're fun. And, but I just don't know anything about them really beyond that. Okay, they were in this wagon train with these other people and they had a family, but I just didn't really. I never really got that story. Never really kind of grabbed me, and I've forgotten almost everything about that subplot. And it feels like a lot of that. I'll tell you what, it feels like a lot of the stuff in season 1 had hardly any consequence in season 2.
Yeah.
Like Henry's character might as well have not, unless he's coming back, might as well have not been in the show.
He's dead, so.
Yeah, of course, that's right. Yeah, of course he is. So, but that, again, all of that, just, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in it that doesn't really have any payoff. There's not enough setup and payoff.
So far, we are not invested based on season 1. If you never read a Lord of the Rings book, you would not be invested with these characters. We are because we watched the movies, we read Tolkien's work. That's why we know the names Galadriel, Elrond, Celebrimbor, Gandalf, etc. The Balrog. We know these things, Mordor. But if you never watched anything based on season 1, you would have no attachment to these characters. We just don't care. They're not characters. They're just their archetypes.
Yeah. So big problem. Story's not really grabbing me. The narratives are either truncated or confusing. The time jump wasn't well handled. I didn't get a sense that centuries had passed.
It's funny. They put the prequel because this is a prequel show to Lord of the Rings, and then that's Sauron his prequel to season 1, so we had to do a prequel to the prequel.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
So we're prequeling it. We're prequeling. Oh God.
So season 1 was the prequel to that was a completely different timeline then. Hang on. If centuries have passed,
Oh God, my head hurts.
I've got a plot problem here, right? If centuries have passed, how come the Half-Foots haven't aged? They're not they don't have the Dunedain thing.
Well, the opening is, remember them, all the orcs stabbing Sauron to death, and so that's when time passes, and then he meets Galadriel. So the opening is just them killing Sauron.
But the creation of Mount Doom that occurred within the timeline of the Hobbit, the Halflings, because didn't they?
Yes.
See it? They saw it occur, right?
Well, that's when he was still Hallbrand.
Yeah, because also all of the characters also, don't forget, in season 1 all see Gandalf's Superman ball of
the meteor. Yes,
flying. Everybody sees it. So it's not like we've established, well, actually one of the timelines that you're engaged in actually occurs 50 years earlier. So you're actually watching 2 timelines, which would be fine, although totally unnecessarily confusing. But that's not the case. That everyone in this show is in the same timeline, right?
Well, because so the opening says for Adwaith. So it says Dawn of the Second Age. That's the opening, and that's showing him being killed. And once he dies and is resurrected, that's whatever centuries pass later. That's when we get. Then that's when season 1 takes place.
I'm not sure that they've covered all their tracks on that.
I mean,
I might need to rewatch it. Oh God!
Don't think about it too much.
No, don't think about it. Just consume.
It's like the Acolyte. Lance, come on. Should we start picking apart all the Acolyte inconsistencies, like Darth Plagueis being there, or it
just feels like they shouldn't have done that. Just set everything in the same timeline.
No, why? Who wants a consistent plot?
Well, hey, Abomination AJ.
Hey, AJ, what's up, buddy?
Has he been in the chat before?
He's always
got a channel, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's always hanging out with Gooch, and him and Leon are going at it.
Oh yeah. So Abomination, if you've seen the first episode or any of the first 3 episodes, and you want to chat with me, and if you want to come on and chat with me and Blue, let me know, and Blue will send you the link.
That's episode 1. Let's get 2 more to go.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of trying to talk about all 3 of them together.
Right.
Do we want to say anything else about the plot for? Let me cover the plot for the episodes 2 and 3 then.
Yeah.
So
episode 2, Return of the Dwarves.
So episode 2, hang on, this is episode 10.
Yeah.
When the Stars Are Strange, episode 2. The ongoing eruption of Mount Doom sends seismic shifts through Middle-earth, causing an earthquake at Khazad-dûm that destroys much of the city's agriculture and infrastructure. This further widens the rift between Durin and his son, as both are reluctant to end their feud. The stranger, Nori and Poppy, meanwhile, continue their meandering, really gripping journey into Rune. The lack of food and water begins to wear on them, but fortunately they find bugs and they get to eat bugs. Poppy and Nori find a well nearby, but inadvertently alert the masked riders who have been successfully evading them previously. That whole scene as well was really annoying. Like, the well starts to make the noise with the bell, and they're conscious that they know that they're being pursued by people, because this has all come up in the show already. People have tried to kill them. People tried to kill not Gandalf last season. Yet, with all this noise clanging across the landscape, one of them doesn't go, oh my God, we've got to stop that. At least with Pippin, when the thing goes down in the well, remember that in Khazad-dûm and in the mines, and he kind of goes, but there's nothing they can do because it's already falling down there. But he knows it's bad. He knows there's going to be a consequence. They're just all hanging around like it's not a problem. Oh, Blue's suddenly lost his connection. I will continue talking until he comes back. So, continuing with the plot, Selenbror, aware of Halbrand's untrustworthiness, but not of his true nature, refuses his request to meet, but nonetheless allows him to stay in Region. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. However, Halbrand eventually goes through to Selenbror, telling him of the success of the Elven Rings and revealing himself to be Anatar, an envoy of the Valinor and the Lord of Gifts, not very convincingly, as Anatar, Sauron instructs an awestruck Celebrimbor to make rings for men. Sensing Sauron's interest in Celebrimbor, Gil-galad dispatches Elrond and Galadriel to Urjon. Durin and Disa later receive an invitation from Celebrimbor to come to the same place. Okay. So let me get my stills back up. And hopefully Blue will get his internet back up shortly. Thank you for the 21 people that are still watching. All right, so this is British actor Ben Daniels, who's in the show. Class actor, really knows his shit. I saw him on stage at the National Theatre in The Normal Heart. And also, when he was filming this show, his partner was terminally ill. So he shot this show while he had a partner at home who was battling cancer. So, good. I mean, amazing performance. Blue is coming back. Blue just lost his connection. Sammy's had to go on Roman's stream, so he was only coming on for a short while. Blue should be back any sec. I will just drop him a message on Facebook, and okay, let me just do that quickly, just in case there's something happened that. I mean, obviously, if he's being attacked by intruders, he won't be able to tell me this. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be back in a second. Oh, yeah, here we go. My modem crashed. Amazon is selling me. Okay, just come back on as soon as you can, mate. No problem. Yeah. Wish his beard looked better. Well, indeed. Abomination AJ. I'm not a Tolkien fan. I'm the last guy to discuss this stuff. See, the thing is, right, is I'm not a complete Tolkien. I'm a big fan of Tolkien. I've read the books, but I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, you can't do this because of this rule. It is a television drama series. They're going to have to embellish a bit, especially as the source material is quite limited. But that's no excuse for poor storytelling.
Telling you, man, Amazon are pissed off.
Dude, yeah, you got. Do Amazon do your internet?
They don't know. I'm not sure anymore. They own everything.
Okay.
They have the money.
Yeah. If this stream goes down and Blue and I's bodies turn up in suspicious circumstances, then we expect the 18 of people that are watching us now to conduct an investigation.
My modem was blinking. Internet down on my phone. Like, what the?
We expect you to team up and form a squad of detectives. Ryan's asking, what are your overall thoughts with this series going on, and what's your thought about the new Gollum film? I'm going to come back to that in a second, but my friends were involved in the Hunt for Gollum movie, which is, I think, is basically covering the same thing. Boosh McFadden's brought up an interesting thing. It's an action fantasy epic. Okay, let's make it a drama laden with unintelligible metaphors. We can stamp 2 spiders with 1 boot. That kind of thing. Yeah, so I was just talking about. I was just moving on to actors and characters. I quite like his character. I like this actor. Now, here's an issue. So, this is Isildur in the middle.
Yeah, I noticed.
Right, he gets stabbed by this woman. Quite a bad leg wound, which then has no consequences whatsoever in the rest of the plot. So why make it happen at all? This guy who turns up to save them, I forget the character's name. He kind of comes spinning through the air like some kind of elven ninja.
Yeah,
that bit of CGI didn't look good.
Yeah, his name is Arondir. He's from season 1. Yep.
I mean, this actor's fine. I've seen him in some other things, and he's not a bad actor at all. But in this, his narrative, I'm just not engaged with him. I just like a good comparison to him, without sort of comparing him to Orlando Bloom, say, is you talk about the character of Spock, because he's playing the elf as very sort of cold and logical and strategic. That he's taken that kind of approach with the character, right? That's absolutely fine. That can still be interesting. I just like, I don't feel like I know this guy at all. And he was in quite a bit of season 1. And
Yeah.
Boosh McFadden has summed it up quite well in the sense that he's boring. Legolas was stoic but entertaining. Part of the fun with Legolas as well was the banter off of him and Gimli.
Yeah.
And you don't have that here. But, you know, I mean, this guy could be having his own banter with different people. It just doesn't, I don't know.
Well, the issues I had with him, it's not against the actor. It's like with Disa the dwarf. It's, you know, for all the wrong reasons. They were, boy, the marketing department, Lance, and you know, it goes with 2022 and 2024. They kept marketing these two characters for certain reasons, possibly their skin tone. Which that's all the marketing, every interview, everything. You know,
I mean, my take on the whole ethnicity thing with this show is, there are plenty of places within the cultural milieu of Middle Earth where you can have all different kinds of skin tones. The character of Disa is actually, at the minute, is one of my favorite characters in the show, because I really like what the actress has done with the role. She's at least made the character interesting. Slightly annoying at times, sure, but that's just what she's been given to work with. But at least she's engaging, and the actress is making the most out of what dialogue she's been given. This guy's got nothing to work with. He's just cool at shit. That's his thing.
Yeah.
And aloof. Is that Tammy? I think it's Tammy or Tommy. Tammy. This show feels like some weird Tolkien cosplay. Elrond's hair wig was very distracting. That strange Sauron goo as well. The Sauron goo thing I didn't like. Let's you've got some more still, so let's grab those.
Okay. So this is from episode 2. I'm just going through Galadriel having her nightmare. And of course they had to pull this, you know, the black speech. 3 rings for the elven kings and 9 for mortal men, and the premonition for the rings.
Yeah.
Boy. Yeah.
I feel as well that the dialogue with I quite like this character, the sort of
the king,
the elven king, basically. Yeah. I quite like him.
Well, currently he's the one holding Gandalf's ring.
Right, and because he's going to die, and I quite like the actor. But the scenes with him and Galadriel should have this kind of much more severe tension or mystique about them, one or the other. If you think about the scenes in Lothlorien in the Fellowship of the Ring, you know, okay, we can't have all the elves talking in that kind of slow way all the time, because this isn't a feature film, it's a TV show, and that would get a bit weird. So they can't do that. But there should be something between the exchange between the ultimate leader of this race and the woman who's caused a lot of the problems. There should be this real tension. There should be this real fire. I would have loved a scene where they had a massive argument. Yeah. And by episode 3, we haven't had that, and I'm telling you now, there ain't going to be one.
You know, this was irking me too, Lance, because previous episode they sent out an emissary saying, "Hey, don't treat with Halbrand." Wouldn't you be telling Celebrimbor the rings are sacred the mithril. That listen, this guy is Sauron. Don't touch him. Don't go near him. And oh yeah, well he's here. He's right here in front of you. And like, oh well, I'm not gonna. He's outside. Well, just leave him there.
This whole narrative didn't work for me. It would have been better if he'd turned up as an elf.
Yeah, he's a different actor, but he looks the same canon wise.
Yeah, he'd assumed the form of an elf.
Yeah.
Maybe he murdered someone and assumed that form, and then that character then changed into that. Actually, I'm really this person, and I'm the bearer of the gifts. Or whatever.
He says right there.
Didn't really work, did it?
I would never cheat with him again. It should be the letter should be from the king. Hey, listen, we found out that he's Sauron, and kill him on sight.
This stuff was filmed. This the live action stuff of these shots was filmed in the Canary Islands.
And like Eraserhead is saying right there in the chat, they whitewash Rune, the darker part of the map. Now in climates that would have a desert environment, like remember in Two Towers and Return of the King, like you said, when Faramir killed that guy, the Haradrim were the elephant riders. They were definitely darker tone from a desert climate. That would make sense. Yeah, just like in Game of Thrones when you have the Unsullied and like call Drogo, all them people, all southern people that live in the south in these big desert climates wouldn't look like people from the north. That's how humans work. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, I swear, I felt like this was discount Christopher Lee. I'm sorry, I just.
Well, I mean, the actor who plays, by the way, he's listed in the credits as Dark Wizard.
Exactly.
I mean, when I read that, I was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, I mean, it's like obviously he passed away, but I'm just like that's just a pure vibe of like, and no, I like the actor who plays it. I've seen him before, but like this is pure just like bootleg Saruman.
Yeah, he's Kieran.
Sorry, man.
The actor's Kieran Hines, who's one of the best actors Ireland's ever produced. He's a character actor, but he's also a leading man. He's one of those actors that fits comfortably in a leading role or a support role. Fantastic actor, incredible range.
Once I seen him, I was like, man, dude, they got a guy this caliber in this show. Like,
I met him, and he was talking to the guy who played. Yeah, he was at the bar at the National Theatre, and he was talking to Mark Addy, who's the guy who plays the first king in Game of Thrones, Sean Bean's mate, who gets injured.
I love Mark Addy.
Yeah, and they were both at the bar having a beer. And I mistook Kieran Hines for another Irish actor, and I went up and asked him if he was that actor, and he said no. And then I got chatting to them both, and I said, "Oh fuck, you were in the Boxer, weren't you?" I said, "I got you mixed up. I'm so sorry." And but anyway, then I got to compliment him on how brilliant he was, and all, and he seemed to be pleased.
This part, this felt very
This was
Return of King for me. Remember the part with Sam and Frodo with the cloak? Come on.
It just felt really naff because they haven't been given a magic cloak. Right.
Well, he can do magic spontaneously whenever the plot needs him to do magic. Other times he can't control it. Like later on when
we have to be fair to the writers, we have established that these not Hobbit halfling people are experts at camouflage, and that's the part of their culture, and they hide their caravan at night and whatever, and suddenly people are popping up from under toadstools, whatever. But it did feel a bit shit because these people that were hunting them, who are not the Nine, but felt a bit like the ring ride, the ring wraiths, but they're not. They do feel like they're mercenary experts though. They've got cool masks. They look like they know their shit. And they've tracked them. They've got a tracker because they're tracking them. So the tracks have ended. So it's like that whole moment should have been a lot more tense. It felt like it could have been.
And it's a small detail too, Lance, but people were crapping over Disa in season 1 because everyone knows, and famously from Two Towers, because when Gimli's talking to Eowyn about like how much female dwarves get mixed up with male dwarves because of the beards. Everyone's like, why is every female dwarf in season 1 all clean shaven? So this season they give Disa a little bit of hair right here. You notice on the side, like this.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, like I'll try to find a shot of her later, but like you'll see, she's got a little bit of stubble right here on her sides.
I think they should have committed to that from the word go. They should have had all of the dwarf women should have had big beards.
And that's what people were crapping over
been...
season 1 so bad. Like, it's whether you like it or not, it's Tolkien's work in his lore, and his lore, female dwarfs. In fact, I play World of Warcraft and other fantasy genres that, if you want your female dwarf to have a full beard, it's part of the lore and mythology. Just respect it.
I reckon that was a budget decision. I reckon it was like because every time you do a prosthetic beard, that's an actor in makeup for 2 hours. So that's another makeup artist that you need. If you're doing 5 or 6 of them, okay, the Twister scene.
Yeah, because he still I can't control my power, and then they fly away because he almost kills him.
Okay, so in this shot where they just disappear, if that's an actual cyclone that he's conjured up or whatever you want to call it,
those two fly off like it's like
you should have seen them flying around and shit, but they obviously didn't have enough money to.
Yeah, because they were holding on right there, and of course, remember too, hobbits. Well, Harfoot's about 3'5", 3'6", and they fly off from like an F2 tornado. I mean, wherever they're gonna land, they ain't living. I'm sorry, it's like tossing 2 8-year-olds into a freaking mini tornado. Come on, but sure.
Darth saying the Ishtari haven't even arrived in Middle Earth yet.
So look right now, and he notices that Halbrand, he's still out there waiting for me very patiently. At this point, he's been there. You won't treat with him. Get rid of him. It's getting kind of cold outside. It may even rain. Let's go talk to him.
But
have a conversation.
Did I misunderstand it? Right. At one point there was. Okay, so there was that thing where there was a load of messengers that were dispatched. I think
yes,
specifically to tell this guy that Halbrand was Sauron. No, wasn't that why they were sent there? Because then we cut to their bodies. There's all these flies buzzing around them, and they've been attacked by orcs or whoever have killed them.
Yeah,
and so at this point, unless I missed a story beat, he's one of the few elves that doesn't know that Halbrand is Sauron, or he does?
He doesn't.
Right. Well, at least they got that bit right.
Yeah.
So, but despite that, person walks into fire, has black eyes, all that shit. It's all a bit like.
Look, he shows his true.
I'm not going to assume you're a god. That's on the side of righteousness. Do you know what I mean?
I mentioned that Drinker and Muller tweeting up, and Muller tweeted this out too. They actually said it, Lance. They said it.
The Lord of the Rings.
They actually said it. It's like episode 2, and it was Halbrand who said it. Sauron who said it to Celebrimbor. Yes, the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But now he shows his true form as an elf. Now he's I'll call myself Anatar.
Yeah,
okay, sure.
Now.
Yep.
There's a scene as well later when I think it's in episode 3 where the dwarves go to visit them.
It's hard to see it there too. You see it right on the edges of her head. It's like they put like a little slab, like little thin hair on her. So
let me enlarge that. Hang on.
I'll try to get some stills from episode 3.
Oh yeah, okay. See that.
I'll pull 3 in a second now. That was 2.
I like that actress, Sophia.
Yeah, I mean, I have said zero problem with actresses at all. It's just like all the interviews last year and leading up to this season 1, just as as usual, the marketing behind it was irritating me because they kept mentioning.
This is her sixth credit, but she did do 26 episodes.
There's episode 3. That's
a TV show called Swashbuckle, which is a kids pirate show. So
it's like we said. They said the thing. They said the thing. I know that.
I'm trying to find a picture of her in her kid's pirate costume. But it seems to be evading me. Oh well, never mind. I guess her part in Swashbuckle was minimal. I think she's fine in the role. And
that's it. I wouldn't have an issue. Nice shots like that right there. So.
That shot's all right. It's just it's this stuff when we're in caves and it's all like there's no torchlight or anything. So they do this thing where they make the actor it's as dark as possible.
This reminds me too, like
see what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, like this scene. In case you don't like spiders, guys, there's a bunch of dark CGI spiders.
That sequence was quite effective. It could have been better, but
yeah,
it was the CG was decent. The spider did look like the spider from Krull, funnily enough, but animated more effectively. But so the guy who was caught up in the spider's nest, it was his horse. Is that correct? That the orcs were trying to steal?
That's what I got from it. Yeah.
Right. But we didn't see the scene where the orcs attacked him and the horse. We just saw them getting dragged off, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just found that narrative very confusing. I didn't feel like there was enough emotional tissue to connect. I know that character was in season 1, but there wasn't enough emotional tissue for me to go, oh my God, that guy's in danger. You know? I just was like, oh, who's this? Who's this again?
That's the queen that got blinded, remember? Because she runs into when Mordor was being born and like all the ash blinded her.
Right.
And she had to Palantir. She's the one that kept arguing with Galadriel. When Galadriel did the whole, like, there's a tempest inside me and I must quell it. And she was keeping Galadriel prisoner for like 2-3 episodes.
There's Sam Hazeldine again.
Well, it's like Drinker said, the orcs are peaceful creatures, Lance. Like, do we have to go to war again? I mean, come on, we're all sitting back. We have our kids and our wives. We're out there. We're doing barbecues and planting gardens. We have to go.
This whole thing with we
have to go to war? Really?
A warlike race. It's part of their culture. So
I mean, it's
they live off of. They don't go out.
I mean,
go out and grow crops.
I mean, that's
what they do. They steal other people's cattle. They will kill people.
Stupid Adar, he's punishing these poor innocent orcs that never hurt anybody. I tell you.
Honestly,
that was a cool CG shot. That's why I kept it for that huge troll.
I kind of like that, but then there was no.
Yeah.
There was one line of exchange. Oh, hill troll. He's like a hill troll king or something.
He didn't say anything. Just grunted. Yeah.
Yeah, they made him sound important, but we didn't get a close up of his face, so we didn't get any. He didn't feel like a character. He just felt like CG monster looks good, but he didn't feel like a character. Remember the cave troll?
Yeah,
I can picture the expressions on that cave troll's face.
Yeah. Even when it was dying, so you can see like when it stabbed Frodo, it's smiling. It was smiling, and then you can see when Legolas was stabbing it in its neck and with the arrows and But nice shot.
I mean, if that guy's been entreated there to sort of join them in an alliance, in other words, can we have more trolls in our army?
Yeah. Awesome.
I would have liked to have seen just like some basic, just an expression from him, like a nod or something.
He said the thing. He said rings of power.
There shall be rings of power. So, yeah, one of the people that was spamming me yesterday said, "Hey, Lance, we want to see into your ring." I was like, "Well, good luck with that."
Well, also, I mean, the whole point so far in this storyline, Lance, is that
hurry, you done.
The elves are dying and the trees are dying, and the elves, okay, they have to leave Middle Earth because they're dying. But the mithril now and the rings are going to keep the elves alive longer. Sure. And also dwarves too. It's going to help out dwarves. I mean, I didn't know mithril was a key to keeping elves alive longer, but apparently it does now.
Well,
all right.
The elves are going to turn the mithril into armor, don't they? Which mithril chainmail, hard as dragon scales. Remember?
Yeah.
But we've not really established, unless I missed it, and then maybe I did in season 1 or this season, why the elves want it, why it's so useful to them. There isn't a scene with like a smithy saying, "Look at this, I've made this sword from mithril. Test it, smash. Now test this one against this shit." You know what I mean? There isn't like that sort of thing where the elves suddenly go, "Wow, this is like we need this," you know.
Well, and as you said too, now this actor is playing Isildur. If anybody spent the first 5 minutes watching Fellowship of the Ring, who was Isildur, eventually the one to cut off Sauron's hand or fingers and stop Sauron. So this better be leading up to him fighting Sauron then, because that's how the lore goes.
Yeah, I mean, and he's kind of shown as a bit naff and incompetent
Being
thus far.
pathetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I thought it would be better if we could start establishing this whole thing with him stabbing her. Her stabbing him was completely unnecessary. It would have been better if she had tried, he had stopped her, and that had ended there, because it was quite a nasty wound. There's this other bit as well where he's like trying to tend to the wound. She like does a knot for him. Oh yeah,
There
that
he
feels
is.
better. It's like, well, you can just tie it a bit tighter. Yeah, he comes storming in. I actually thought what was going to happen here was, when suddenly you heard people screaming and stuff like that, I thought they were either being attacked by treants. So we were going to see some trees moving around. And at one point, there was a camera angle where the camera was up. So maybe it was implied that they were involved as well. I don't know. But I also thought there was going to be a group of elves, like a patrol. But no, it's a team elf who's, got magical powers and all that shit, and can spin through the air and whatnot. The village needs a healer.
Well, this character was created, to my knowledge, for the show, but they try saying, well, he's half elf, half human. That's what makes him special.
This guy on the right, annoying villager boy. Again, his character is like, if this, I mean, I don't know where these characters are going to end up, but if these characters were cut from the show, I couldn't care less. I'm not invested in them at all, and I feel like I should be invested in this boy's journey. Give us some tangible scenes where we learn about these people, because all of the dialogue is right. For anybody that's watching, I'm a professional scriptwriter. That's what I do.
That's the brand.
And a basic thing about dialogue is every line of dialogue in a script serves one of two masters, right? It either tells you something more about the overall story. So, hey, Blue, we've got to get to the store because it's going to close in 10 minutes. It's going to take us 5 minutes to get there. So we've got a 5-minute window to buy the cheesy poofs. That's our narrative of Lance and Blue go to the store. So that line establishes that our goal is to get to the store. We've got 10 minutes. We got to be there within 5 minutes, really, but we've got a 10-minute window, and you'll say, "Great, we'll take my car." That's your response. So you're telling the audience, right? Well, we're now going to be driving. So none of that dialogue. That's really simple dialogue, but it's not superfluous. And it's either advancing the story, or and let's say that your line is, "We'll take my car, but you're going to have to pay for the petrol." And that's the second thing. Every line of dialogue is either about story, and if it doesn't tell you something about the story or advance the story further, it tells you something about the character. So that part of that line would tell you something about the character of Blue. Oh, he's a bit tight, so Lance has got to pay for the petrol. By the way, this is simulated scene. Blue's not tight in real life. So the name of this script would be called Lance and Blue: Attack of the Munchies. So, and then we get to the store. Oh no, they've run out of cheesy poofs, So, but there's another store just down the road. We might just make it. This is all stuff that's propelling the story forward. It's all simple. I bet if you go through line by line in these 3 episodes, there will be some lines of dialogue where neither of those rules apply.
Thank God we have friends, Lance. Like, let's see, somebody because he wrote stuff down, but on Twitter, Critical Drinker, he tweeted out, "He played me like a harp, but the melody was not one of my choosing." This is actual dialogue from the show.
Yeah, there's about 10 metaphors in the first 3 episodes.
One does not need to eat the eyes of an eagle to see that your thoughts have strayed far from this place.
Yeah.
Like an ember that has been too long removed from a fire, our people must return to their home. I'm sure we could find a lot more. I mean, I was rushing for these stills. Had I had time, I would have. Yeah.
Yeah, Drinker's stream went on for 3 hours, and he didn't even get to do any super chats.
Poor bastard.
Yeah, well,
those first world problems.
He'll do a mega catch up. But to cover that, I'm guessing.
Before we so Lance, I mean, according to rumors, well, yeah, I'm not sure who this guy is. So we have Farazan here. Farazan, he tamed the eagle. So the eagle has landed.
Well, so yeah, that eagle. This now, okay, I've got something to say about this whole sequence.
I don't know.
Right? I'm telling you now, this is what happened. Season 1 finishes. Everybody's raving about Game of Thrones, and season 2, they're sitting down, and so we've got to have Machiavellian courting intrigue. It's that Shakespeare stuff that's working well in House of Dragon. Let's get more of that in. Where are we going to do that? Well, numeral. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't already have some of these storylines developed for season 2. I'm sure they probably did. If they're worth their salt, they've got, the whole arc of. I don't think this will go past 3 seasons. But you can tell that some of this definitely has been. Let's have these characters arguing. Maybe let's have some council meetings, and this whole scene where she becomes queen, or well, she's already queen, but where it's the ceremony, isn't it? They're going through this ceremony and everything, and she's blind. Was one of the more effective scenes in the show. I thought it was kind of interesting because they had set it up to set her up.
Yeah.
But the setup to them setting her up was not done well. It was all over the place. But I liked this whole sequence. But this felt like this was out of House of Dragon. You could have taken this, apart from the Palantir, because that's the only way she can see now, I think, is with the Palantir. I like this actress, Cynthia Addie Robinson. Again, look at the detail on that costume and the headpiece. Great production costume department. Really, they're doing their job. I bet if we saw all the costumes lined up on dummies, for us to have a peruse at, it would be an impressive range of stuff. Kevin Bacon just liked a tweet of mine, and that's the real Kevin Bacon. So, I'm 1 degree away from Kevin Bacon interview.
So now he's champion of the Eagle. Yay. Unknown guy, Farazan.
So we'll go.
And now look. So now Sauron is helping make in front of all the elves, or the 2 dwarves here, and Celebrimbor. Sauron in his new form, he hands him the mithril in his hand and puts into the fire.
Yeah, I mean, well, I quite like the fact. One of the things I thought that was good in this scene was, the woman was the one who was encouraging him to take the rings, and he was the one who wasn't sure.
Yeah,
he was the one who was saying, "No, I think this is a bad idea," and I was surprised by that because they're playing her off as the wise one. And whatever you think about that, I was surprised. I was surprised that I thought the shoe would be on the other foot. I thought they'd be playing him as greedy, and she'd be saying, "Oh, I don't know," but it fitted with what we've established with these characters. These 2 characters, him and his wife, they're the 2 characters I'm most invested in the show because we've had a bit of time with them. We've got the setup. I know the story between the father and the son, and that's an age-old story. That's a story people can relate to, falling out with their dad, not speaking to their dad for years, that kind of thing. It didn't happen to me, thankfully, but I know a lot of people have been through that. So there's a human, tangible element to that people can relate to. They're a squabbling, fun couple that clearly love each other. There are millions of married couples who are in that kind of relationship where, they have squabbles, but they love the person they're with dearly. So all of that stuff all felt you know, I felt like I knew these characters a bit, and their storyline and the idea of Mount Doom erupting, causing problems for the dwarf kingdom, perfectly logical, causing earthquakes, causing problems. I like all of that as well. So that narrative for me is the strongest narrative in this show. They're the only characters I care about. If either of those characters die, I would feel something for them, because I feel a bit. That's the most invested I've got in the show is with those two.
Yeah, it's more than me, but yeah, I mean, there's something there, I guess.
Why does the ship float? Shut up.
Shut up.
No,
if we weren't rushing this, yeah, but I mean, I could have easily just gone through the script and picked apart more choice dialogue, but I was just trying to rush to get these. You know, I know you're going to go on tonight, Lance. So I'm like, hey, and we try to cram 3 hours of stuff into make it real quick.
Yeah, well, I said we'd go for 90 minutes. We're over, but you got more stills?
That's all I got, man. So I said, I don't want to make too many.
Razorhead clearly is a bit of a Tolkien source of knowledge. Pharazôn is supposed to be one of the most brutal warrior kings ever. This dude looks like a joke. He does look a bit like sort of discount Charles Manson, doesn't he?
Pharazôn.
Let me the Eagle and the Scepter. I mean, I don't mind the idea. Yeah, there we go. I don't mind. He's a Welsh actor, this guy. I don't mind the idea of the eagle turning up and everybody mistaking it for a sign, and then them believing this is your guy, because that sort of thing happens all the time in days gone by. You know, suddenly there's an eclipse and everybody thinks it means this or that, and but yeah, okay. So sort of overall thoughts.
Well, it's like you said, Angus. I mean, you're not wrong with the production value on certain aspects, but considering how much hundreds of millions of dollars they put into this movie, I mean, the show, I mean, it should look good.
I just think, okay, if I look back at these 3 episodes and I say what, because we normally do memorable moments, standout lines, right? I can't think now of one line of dialogue where I've gone, oh, that was a good line. That was a really good line. There's some okay moments. There are some okay individual scenes where it feels like the writer was on their game. And I quite liked the fact that he was the one who said to the Queen, lies, let us destroy it now. And then the Queen is forced to say no. That was really good.
It's mine, my precious.
It's a bit like that, yeah. But we should be in a Lord of the Rings show. Like if I look at the Two Towers, Fellowship of the Ring, Return of the King, I could go through each one of those films and I could list 10 iconic moments in every film right now.
And Lance, I'm one people almost like neurotic. I acknowledge their faults, like the Star Wars prequels. I do have a soft spot for the Hobbit trilogy. I know they're not the best, like the prequels, but even the Hobbit trilogy, there's certain aspects like Smaug. I think Benedict Cumberbatch's Smaug was awesome.
Smaug was really good. The Hobbit should have been 2 movies.
Oh no, I'm saying, I mean, there's definitely problems with them. I said, but I can even pick apart some good aspects versus this. I can't find anything. I mean,
been a really good 3-hour movie.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a way to the right person could edit that Hobbit trilogy and make a really solid movie. I think if someone shaved it down the right way.
I probably could do that if I was asked, because I'm working on now I've done my Bridge Too Far supercut.
We even like the stuff with Thorin. I mean, Thorin was a great character. Like how his rise and fall, he finally got the crown back, and how it drove him mad, and like how Thorin died. It was good.
Yeah. All of that stuff.
And plus, I still love Ian McKellen as Gandalf. I love Ian McKellen.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, okay. Which actors for you in the show do you like?
You go first.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll quite happily do that. So I'm not gonna not pick people because of the tools they've been given, but the standout cast members for me, I would say, are Charles Edwards, Sophia Nombetti, Cynthia Addie Robinson, very good. Charlie Vickers as Sauron. Peter Mullen's good as the Grumpy King. Sam Hazeldine as Adar. The rest of them are all sort of, varying degrees of competence to sort of bland, but not necessarily the fault of the actors. I think that our girl who's playing Galadriel is a perfectly competent actress. I'm just not engaged with that character at all. Maybe is she not in? Is she not in episode 3?
Galadriel?
Was she not in episode 3?
It's hard to remember now. No, she's
Sure, she was in every episode, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's in it. I'm trying to find a still from her right now.
Listed. Don't think she's listed on episode 3.
Wait, actually, I'm not finding her. Maybe she isn't.
She might not have had any scenes in episode 3, or at least if she did, she's not on IMDb yet.
Actually, no, she's not in. She's not in this episode. Holy crap!
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, apart from the ones I've mentioned, well, hang on, we've got there you go. This cast includes her. This is episode 2. Morfydd Clark is fine, but just like I couldn't pick a moment where I've gone, oh yeah, I really believed it. It all just feels too sculpted, too Galadriel's this. So yeah, they're all the ones that I like. I quite like Daniel Wayman as not Gandalf. He's doing a good job with what he's got.
Well, he has lines this season. Last season was just him yelling and moaning.
Ben Daniels is good.
Yeah, the actor plays Gil-galad. That's the only guy I'm like enjoying right now.
So of all the cast, you like one of them. Is Gil-galad? Is that? He's
the Elven King because he's the only one. It seems like he's trying.
Yeah. He's only in. I think he's only in episode 1. But yeah, he's good. He's good. Benjamin Walker.
Yeah.
Gil-galad.
Yep. Yes, it does. It seems like God, like Elrond.
He looks really young there. I don't know when that was taken, and so he definitely has an older presence with the get up and everything. 27 acting credits. Yeah. So okay. So of now we're 3 episodes in. Yeah, so my summary 3 episodes in is the only characters I care about are the dwarf couple. I'm really not invested in anybody else. I find the Sauron, I like the fact that the story is about Sauron creating the rings and sowing the seeds of war and creating all these conflicts and setting people up against each other. That as a concept is good. It's just not executed very well. I wasn't coming off an episode going, oh my God, I've got to put on the next one. I was coming off an episode going, well, we're going to talk about this later, so I better put on the next one. That's not what a show's supposed to do, is it?
No.
So, yeah.
I hate to say, Lance, but this happens often where it makes me wonder if this wasn't called Rings of Power, would this mean the dialogue wouldn't be better? But because we know these characters from Elrond to Galadriel to Sauron,
I think it would have been better if this had just been called Lord of the Rings: The Second Age, and it would have been better if we didn't know anything about what was coming. We didn't know that the rings were coming. But
this is a problem with prequels, and say prequels it is very well. Sequels are hard to do in general. Prequels sometimes are even harder because you have a high bar. I mean, come on, you're following Cate Blanchett, you're following Hugo Weaving, you're following maybe later on Ian McKellen, Christopher Lee, some veteran actors, some great performances, and like.
Sorry, no, carry on.
No, I was saying, some of these guys, some of these roles are iconic, and like if this is going to be possibly like you said, Dark Wizard, is that really Saruman? Is that Gandalf? But like these performances, you have a high bar to set, and these actors just like, man, look at her acting versus look at Kate Blanchett's acting. Look at this guy's acting versus Hugo Weaving. It's not even a comparison.
I still can't believe they called that guy Dark Wizard. That's the best they could come up with. Just call him the Lord of Run or wherever he's based, Dark Wizard.
Because like Lance, I mean, we've covered this. House of Dragon season 2 has some issues, but it's not really. It's attached to Game of Thrones because it is that, but it's still a prequel to Game of Thrones. But season 1 of House of Dragon is vastly superior to like seasons 5 to 8 to Game of Thrones. Like that's how you do a prequel, right? That's why season 2 had such high ratings for it. It faltered, but still, that's a prequel done right overall. Versus, man, this is how you butcher a prequel.
Common People's made a really good point here. No one will be watching this without the Lord of the Rings connection.
Yeah.
If you're writing a fantasy or even a sci-fi show, when you're writing the characters and the plot things, they have to work on a basic like engaging level. It's like if you look at House of Dragon and you took all of the dragons out of that show would still be quite engaging. You could reset it in New York and it could be about two warring families and the stock market, and it would still be quite a good show.
Yeah.
Admittedly, a lot of people, it would be a different audience that would go for that. But if you look at the dialogue of that show, and the characters of that show, what make it good. I'm just not invested in anything here. I'm just not. Nothing's pulling me in. I
agree.
I quite like the dwarves, but that's
No,
not
I mean,
really,
and like I'm not.
that's not really what you want someone to say. You don't want to say.
I mean, I'm joking, but being serious, Lance. Where honestly, if you weren't doing this tonight, I wouldn't have watched it. I only watched because like, and I'm not saying like I'm obligated, but I'm hanging out with you to watch this. But if you like, hey Chris, I wasn't gonna watch it. I would just at one point wait for the season to end and just watch it just out of like curiosity. But yeah, I have no desire to like finish this season. I would just do it just to talk with you about it because yeah, I mean, there's nothing here.
Well, depending on your work arrangements, I may or may not see you next week.
Hopefully, I'll let you know.
We're going to be losing Blue Collar for a bit because he's changing jobs and changing hours. So if you don't see him on the Nielsen ratings for a little while, it is not because Blue and I have had a spat.
No, come on. Hell no.
No, I'm just know what people are like.
I know. Well, people get, Bill's got to get paid. Well, Lance, unfortunately, you and me, we're average people. We're not making, $10,000 a day in super chat. Be nice though.
Well, I'd hate to think of myself as average, but you're right. We're not making.
Well, especially I've told you and Drinker and other friends, man, when people see the prices in New York State, my God, man, like, hey guys, here's some ginger ale for $5 for ginger ale. Like what?
If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, please do so. I am now 240 away from 240 away from 4,000 subs.
Nice.
So I'm creeping up to 4K. Be great if I could get to 4K before Gail Ann Hurd comes on, my big guest in September. I have just booked another guest, so I'll just plug this before we wrap up. This is quite a personal one, actually. So when I did my film, The Journey, I had a load of producers come on board quite late in the post-production phase to help me do various things with the show. And one of those producers was a guy called Jonathan Stretton Downs. Now, unbeknownst to me at the time, Johnny had been plagued with heart issues throughout the most recent part of his life. And he had to have heart surgery 6 times, which, heart surgery for anybody one time is a big deal. And he's a twin. His twin brother is David, and I met his twin brother at the film premiere because Johnny was there. And if you watch the premiere footage from my feature film, The Journey, there is a premiere video of it online. You can see us all in our get up and everything. Johnny is the guy with the tux who opens the door in one of the shots. Very sadly, he passed away after a heart surgery and organ failure and various things happened in April of 2023. But his twin brother, has now made this documentary about his life. It's doing the festival circuit at the moment, and the London screening of it is next week. So he's coming on the channel on Monday to talk to me at 8 o'clock for about an hour, and we're going to sort of celebrate Johnny's life a bit, and he's going to talk to me about this documentary, and we'll watch the trailer for it and talk about it. So yeah, so that's going to be very interesting. It's quite nuts when I think about the numbers of people who've worked on projects of mine who are no longer with us, and that must be over 20, at least 20 people. And this is one of the few times where I can actually do something decent to honor that person's memory in terms of practical terms, in terms of promoting this documentary. So it's the least I could do for him, really. So when David got in touch with me and said, hey, you know, I've got this documentary on about my brother, I was like, oh, well, what can I do to help promote it? Please let me know. So that would be quite a heartfelt interview, I think, on Monday at 8 o'clock. So that's the next one I got coming up. And of course, we're doing Spartacus on Sunday. Now, actually, funnily enough, by the way, it's scheduled to be just 12, the next two, and then the final one's the following week. But because we haven't got the same panel we had, I think I will wrap it all up that day. So we will go ahead and do all three. I've got to rejig the posts and whatnot.
Got the stills ready.
Have you got anything you want to plug, mate, before we end?
No, I mean, I've finished making my my video for Blink Twice, you know, but just I got sick.
Yeah. You said it was quite good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But tomorrow I do want to go see that new Lawrence Fishburne film. I'm curious because I like Lawrence Fishburne, I like Casey Affleck, and no marketing, but it's weird. So many films this year, Lance, you're getting no marketing. I just keep popping up on my phone on my Regal app. That's why I keep promoting Regal for, because Regal, I'm seeing trailers, I'm not seeing nowhere else, but Lawrence Fishburne has a new film that came out today, so I'll check it out tomorrow.
What's it called?
Slingshot.
Slingshot.
Yeah.
Don't know if I've seen that.
Yeah, it's I'd say it wasn't for Regal. I saw no promotion, no marketing. Might not be good, but just the fact that it's another movie came out that no one's talking about. So it could be a reason for it, but
you're going to see it tomorrow, are you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Casey Affleck. Oh yeah. Maybe you mentioned this.
Yeah, but just like
I've seen the trailer for this.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is, if it sucks, it sucks.
With a man in space where he's struggling,
going crazy. Well, yeah, they're all going towards Saturn, you know, and something goes crazy.
So after we've done season 1 of Andy Whitfield's Spartacus, we're not jumping on to season 2. We're doing my favorite cop show of all time, which is
man, I wish I had time for this. God.
Yeah, which is of course The Shield.
I love that show so much.
2 Sundays time, we're gonna be going through the whole show. We're gonna start with season 1. I've written to Michael Chiklis before, and he has been in touch with me. I've also written to Sean Ryan, who created the show, and he also
nice
as well. And I've already had 2 actors who've been in The Shield on my channel. So I'm hoping as time goes on, when we're doing that, we'll be able to get a few of the cast to come on as well.
I don't care. I still like Michael Chiklis as the thing. And man, the makeup job he had to go through that, and like what he was we're watching behind the scenes.
He made a really good thing in that.
I thought he was good. He was probably the best part of one of the best parts of those 2 movies are still under. I don't know. People don't like them, but I like them for what they are. They're cheesy, but I mean, come on, we got friggin' Chris Evans, Human Torch, Michael Chiklis. Practical effects is a thing. I mean, we had really good Doctor Doom. Like I don't know, I like those 2 movies. Silver Surfer was great in the sequel.
There's the Slingshot.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
For anyone who is new to the channel, and there's probably a few people that are, if you want to check out the industry interviews playlist, that is where you'll see the information about the interviews. That's where you'll see the interviews with people from various different creative industries. Some of them are actors, some of them producers, some of them are directors, some of them are musicians. I've got games designers, all kinds. The interview on Monday will be number 74. So that's quite a few for me. So as we've mentioned it, and because Johnny Stretton Downs worked on it, I'm going to end with the trailer for my feature film, The Journey. And Blue, if you do need to shoot off straight away, that's fine. So if you want to watch this film, having seen the trailer, and it is about a particular subject, it's not spaceships and car chases, but I wrote and directed this and produced it. It's on my channel. You can watch it for free. Just type in The Journey feature film and you'll find it. Blue, did you want to say anything else before we sign off?
No, I'm all set, man.
Thanks to everyone in the chat for all your comments. Really appreciate them. Thanks to Blue for coming on and doing this with me. Thanks to Sammy Pete for joining us earlier. And this film will make you want to go to Greece if you haven't been.
I'm going to tell you a story about 3 men. Each one of those men had lost someone, and losing that someone had made them feel like they'd lost everything.
At least on this earth, we all will lose the ones we love. That is part of life.
Why me? Why did I have to be the one? Why couldn't she just have lived?
You don't want to know these things. As you say, they don't concern your country. When you go back, you'll only remember the beauty you see here, and nothing else will really be important.
Hector. Let me tell you what happened next.
Hello? Contact right!
Get away from me! This is my decision. My time to go.
When you refer to the past lives, of course you speak of reincarnation.
Well, there you go then. Live fast, die young.
I don't think anyone ever gets over losing someone. I wish I could stay here forever, but real life beckons, I suppose.
What you need to understand about life is that life is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a mystery to be lived. What you've got to decide is, do you want to live it?